From Southwest Florida, here they come. Mike Sr., Mike Jr., number one. Jeep specialists call them by name. Noble Auto Sales brings a weekly gain. Noble Auto Report, week by week, you know the score. Noble Auto Report, pre-owned car market news and more. Noble Auto Report, Mike Sr., Mike Jr., that's for sure.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Noble Auto Report. This is Mike Jr. here with Mike Sr.
Hello, everybody.
How was your 4th of July, Dad?
It was beautiful, wonderful, and it was a great celebration. Enjoyed every minute. How about you, Michael?
I loved it. It was super relaxing. I got some sleep. We are Mike and Mike. We're with the Noble Auto Report down in Englewood, Florida at Noble Auto Sales. Glad that you're listening to episode number 4. If you need anything from us as far as car vehicle purchases, trade-ins, finding what you're looking for, you can check us out at nobleautosalesllc.com. You can find us on social media at Noble Auto Sales on basically any social media platform. We won Best of Englewood in 2026, and we're going to look to do that again in 2027 because we like to take care of the people that are looking for what they need. Whether you buy a car from us or not, we'll make sure to do that. So, Dad, are you ready to get into the...
I think we should give it a shot, that's for sure.
Well, let's give it a go. Now, last week was a bit of a slow week, I guess, because of the holiday, but what are your impressions of the car market right now?
Well, it's funny you say that because the 4th of July is a big turning point. 4th of July becomes a week or so before is very slow, and then notably after, prices go up. Normally you have a very strong auto auction, the first auction after the 4th of July, and then things settle down a little bit, and then we go back into a normal market through August, and then once again you get a spike again in September.
So which is your first auction that you're going back to this week?
I'll be heading over to Lauderdale for a nice auction over there that's all new car dealer trade-ins and fresh trades. So they're normally in better shape, they're not anything done to them, and they're just good vehicles.
Yeah, maybe one of these weeks we can actually do a segment on the show where you can talk about kind of what your day looks like at an auction. I don't think a lot of people know how that works.
No, I think you're right, and that might be something fun to do and interesting to do.
Yeah, might even be able to do a video and post it on YouTube.
Could be.
That'd be a cool day to follow.
It would be.
A day in the life.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Now the holiday's over. We're back to work. We're getting ready for what you're talking about with a little bit of an uptick in activity. The next thing that we're going to do is talk about part 3 of our car buying process. Now you have the vehicle in mind, Dad. You're looking for a vehicle, you found a spot, and you want to go check it out. So you show up to the dealership. Before you go, is there anything that you should do, like running the VIN? Like, do normal everyday buyers have access to services like Carfax?
Well, I think everybody has access to Carfax. It's a fee, but it's something that anybody could do, that or auto check. And you really do want to check into the history of the car by using Carfax or auto check. And we can help you read the information better. Some people just look at a Carfax and they're not really sure what they're seeing, but it's a good thing to know how to read the Carfax. Whether an accident that's on there is an important accident, whether the history is northern and shows a pattern of repair that something may have never gotten actually fixed. And then there are times when you look at a car and it shows no accidents on the Carfax, but when you go in and you see the car, you can actually see where there has been some sort of an accident. It's a misnomer that everything is on Carfax. People will get into an accident sometimes, not report it to the police, not report it to their insurance company, and get it repaired, so therefore it's never submitted to Carfax, and it doesn't show up.
Yeah, that was kind of like the next thing I was going to ask you about is after you look at the Carfax, you show up to the lot, you get a salesman to help you find the vehicle you're looking at. You're doing your initial walk around of the vehicle. A lot of people, myself included, I don't have the greatest eye for spotting things like a vehicle getting painted or repainted. And I know there's a lot of people that are really good at it. You're good at it. What is a tip that maybe someone can do to maybe spot a new place on a car that's been repainted?
Well, sometimes there'll be overspray. Sometimes there'll be a lip that you can feel on your fingers at the edge of a door where you can feel the paint level is different. It's really kind of hard to describe and tell somebody how to do it. But if you use your common sense and you use your good eyes and look down the angle of a car, sometimes you can see where it's uneven or where there's been some body work.
Yeah. If you're looking at other aspects of the vehicle, like maybe the tires, what is a good rule of thumb? Is the penny rule still a good rule of thumb for checking the tread of the tire?
Well, the penny rule comes into play, but even more important, now you have what they call wear bars. So you can look at a tire, manufacturers put a wear bar on the tire, and you can see when it's getting close to the wear bar that it's going to be time to put on new tires. Then what you want to look at when you're looking at the tires themselves, you want to look how they're worn. Worn on the inside, worn on the outside, whether they're cupped. You can run your hand over the tire and feel whether they're cupped or not. And that can tell you whether it's going to need struts or shocks, whichever the car has. And you have some issues going on.
The other thing that I was going to mention as well is with bodywork. If maybe it was in an accident or they just had something replaced, maybe the paint might be faded a little bit, or the coloring might be a little bit off from the rest of the vehicle just based off the age of the paint from when it was new versus the new part piece.
Well, that's true. You could see a shade difference. You could see a clear coat difference. We're more than happy that if you want to give a call and talk with us, it's easier probably to describe and tell you what to look for. So you might want to just call on that kind of a thing. We wouldn't even mind if you're looking at another car somewhere and you want to walk around it with us, and we can tell you what to look for. You can tell us what you see, and we can tell you what it means.
Yeah, of course. So the next step, let's say things are going fine and you want to look in the engine compartment. If you were buying a vehicle today and you showed up to a dealership, Dad, and you opened the engine compartment, what are some things that you would look for or listen to? Like, would you start up the car first, or would you leave it off at the beginning, or how would you approach that?
Well, it's always nice to tell whoever you're coming to look at it to please don't start the car before you get there. A lot of sounds and noises and taps and things will go away as the car warms up. So it's always good to start it when it's cold and listen. Then when you hear things, then you can try and ask questions as to what is it. I have pretty much a trained ear, and people who've been in the car business as long as I do, you can hear a lot of things when you first start the car. And then revving the engine up, you don't have to go crazy, but if you rev it up a bit, you can hear things then too. Just like when you're driving the car and hear noises from the suspension or the transmission or the brakes, it gives you other indications of what's going on with the car.
Yeah, and then talking about other things like searching for leaks or, parts of the engine compartment that might be corroded or things like that. Those are things that you can do basically whether the car is running or not. But if you do have the car running, just make sure that you realize if something is dripping, it could very well be water from the air conditioner.
That's true. It could be just water from the air conditioner. It could be just some condensation coming out of the tailpipe, depending on the time of year. A lot of times those leaks and things aren't anything important, but then of course there are other times that they are.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in just 1 second. That'll be one of the last points that we talk about. So before we do that, I just want to talk about the inside of the vehicle, right? So wear and tear is consistent with mileage when we're talking about upholstery and seats, and sometimes you do get rips and tears from people that own the vehicle beforehand, but we have connections in the industry. We have a lot of people that we work with in Sarasota County and Charlotte County. We can get upholstery done fairly cheap, definitely at a discount to retail. And so that's not really a problem with us, but it is something to be aware of. You're going to have to expect some wear and tear on the interior, depending on the mileage and year. But I would say that a lot of those things are normal unless it's excessive.
That's very true. We do get some more wear and tear on our Florida vehicles because of the sun. And a lot of people don't have garages or places to put the car inside. and some people don't put shades across the front window, so we do get more wear and tear on the interior as the sun beats down inside the car.
Might seem like common sense, but you want to just make sure that you test all the buttons, right? Like if it has a convertible top, make sure the convertible top works. If the radio works, all the different buttons on the radio work, and things like that. I mean, all those little things you can kind of point out, and maybe you'll get the dealer to agree to replace it if you know.
Very true, very true, because you should take your time, because for a lot of people, their car is their second biggest investment after their house. So you should be careful, you should take your time and gather as much knowledge as you can and make the best decision you can.
Yeah, and we have deals all the time where people point out things here and there, and you know, if it's something that we can help with, we of course will.
We do our best, and then we're here for people once they buy their car and once they own it, and even down the road, I've even had people call a year or so after they've bought it and need something and need some input or help finding a better deal to do something to it, and we always satisfy that need.
Okay, so now everything's passed your tests, and now you get the key in the ignition. You're sitting in the driver's seat, and you go on a test drive. How do you recommend people approach a test drive? I don't think there's a lot of real information out there on what a person should be doing. Should they be driving on the highway? Should they just keep it local? Do they drive it real hard just to see what it can do? Like, what's your thoughts?
Well, ideally, you want to take the car for a good test drive. You want to take it at a slow speed and take off slowly so you can feel the transmission. Feel it shift slowly from gear to gear. And then once you have driven the car for 10 or 15 minutes and you're hitting the brakes and you're making turns and you're listening for your noises and paying attention to the car, then you can take it out for a good drive where you can hit the accelerator kind of hard, make it shift hard so you can feel the transmission again. And then you want to kind of make sure that you're paying attention to whether the car pulls right, pulls left. When you hit the brakes, does it pull? Does it shudder? Does the steering wheel vibrate? You just want to pay attention to the car as you're driving it. Make sure the air conditioning's cold or the heat if you're in cooler weather. Just want to pay attention to the car and listen for noises, basically, and for smells and odors of something that might be leaking.
And if it's comfortable, right? Like, you want to make sure it's all the things that you had dreamed it was going to be when you're actually in it.
Absolutely. Make sure it fills the need and fulfills the function that you want your car to do.
One of the last things that we're going to mention is something that we kind of touched on a little bit with offering people a guiding hand, even if they're not purchasing a vehicle from us, to do a little bit of the help with the walk around and point out things that maybe they might not see. But a lot of people like to take a vehicle to a mechanic, a personal mechanic. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Where do you stand with that?
Well, that's a very good question, and there's a very fine line on the mechanics. You want to take it to a mechanic that you know, that you're familiar with, that you've dealt with before. Because when you take it to somebody who you don't know, they're very much inclined to find anything wrong with the car. They want to shoot the car down because you've just taken all the responsibility of buying the car and put it on their shoulders. The last thing that they want is for you to come back and say, you told me, and then they have to explain why it did what it did. And it doesn't even have to be a day. Could be a month, could be a year. People just don't want you to come back to them and say, hey, you gave me bad advice. They'd rather shoot the car down and tell you to move along. But that being said, there are several and many mechanics out there that will give you their honest opinion. They'll tell you exactly what they see, and then it's up to you to make a decision, and for you to make a educated decision to do what you need to do, either buy the car or not buy the car.
Now, with that being said, there are some stories out there with dealers that won't allow the car to go to a mechanic for another mechanic to go check it out. Would you say that that's a red flag and maybe stay away from those dealers?
Yeah, it's absolutely a red flag. There have been times in my personal experience where I knew the car was a good car, but yet the mechanic that they were going to take it to is notoriously known for shooting cars down that are good ones. So, in my opinion, I've always let a car go to the mechanic because I personally like all the weight to come off my shoulders and go to somebody else. But we're pretty confident in the cars that we sell. We have mechanics look them over before we sell them. We do what needs to be done before we sell them. So we're pretty well versed in the vehicles, especially the Jeeps, and knowing what they need and what needs to be done. But we always encourage and are always welcoming a vehicle going to another mechanic.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we want the customer to walk away with no worries. They want to know exactly what they bought and what they might be looking forward to the best of our abilities. You never know what could happen 2 miles down the road that's out of our hands and is just, the universe doing what it does. But as far as getting the customer to be happy and us to be happy, helping them, leaving the car lot, mechanics, sure, go for it.
True, absolutely true.
Next week, Dad, we're going to talk about the next part of the process, which is maybe helping people talk about the sales part of the purchasing process and how a customer or a person should approach dealing with salesmen, dealing with the dealership themselves as far as the price is concerned, and how they should go about what happens after the test drive.
Very good. It's a good idea. It's a good line.
We're going to rotate now into some Jeep news.
Oh boy.
I had a trivia question for you, but I feel like you were reading the agenda a little bit, so maybe...
No, honestly, I wasn't. I was looking over there.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a trivia question for you. In Q2 of this year, which vehicle out of these three sold the most units? The Jeep Wrangler, the Ford Bronco, or the Toyota Forerunner?
Well, that's a pretty good question, and I'm going to go with the Jeep.
This is just for Q2, so just the last 3 months. You go with the Jeep. Actually, the Ford Bronco.
That would have been my second choice, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I'll read you a little bit of this. It's interesting. We're officially halfway through 2026, as you know. And from April to June, Ford sold 45,700 Broncos, which is actually up 16% over the same 3-month period last year. On the other hand, Jeep dropped 12% in Wrangler sales. They moved 41,700, so about 4,000 unit difference. So they're close. But last year during the same time, they sold 47,000. So maybe they're just losing a bit of market share to the Bronco. If you zoom out and you look at the whole year so far, Jeep is still on top. They've sold more Wranglers than Broncos by about 10,000 units.
Well, that's pretty interesting. It's a very interesting fact. And you know me, being full of myself, I always think I know more than I know.
Uh-huh.
But I do know in this case that you've done the research, and I'm sure you're right.
Yeah. No, it's all verifiable. But the Ford Bronco is gaining in popularity. I see a lot of young people kind of gravitate towards them a little bit.
I wouldn't be surprised to find out, and probably something you can let us know next time, is overall pricing. Which one's more expensive, the Jeep or the Wrangler or the Bronco?
Yeah, just talking like base or yeah.
Well, base versus an extreme model, I guess.
I'll get a few different versions and we can have a little contest to see how many you can guess right.
I'll try that, and it's also a nice fact that something American made is outselling a Toyota, a foreign-made car.
Oh yeah. So that was the other thing. So out of that list, Toyota was obviously in third place. They moved in the second quarter 39,000 units. So they're down 2,000 units to the Wrangler and 6,000 units to the Bronco. Overall, it does put it in third place, but the reason why I included the Forerunner in this story was because overall, Forerunner sales in June alone picked up 125%, with dealers moving 13,000 in June alone over the previous year. So over the full year so far, the trend continues where the Forerunner is up 141%, with the dealers selling 72,000 units over the past year total.
Very interesting, and I'm sure there are a lot of factors. Could be a pricing incentive, could be a lot of things that make that number happen. And it's just interesting. The car market is in constant flux.
Yeah, I remember when I went out to Colorado and I was driving through Denver, it was just a sea of Forerunners. It's just a huge community there for the outdoors kind of community. They love Forerunners, they love Wranglers, they love Broncos, and the Forerunner's been around for decades, hasn't it? So for it to see that pump, it kind of goes to what you were talking about maybe potential deals or rebates or whatever.
It's true. The Forerunner's a great vehicle. They're dependable. A little bit different than a Jeep or a Bronco. Not quite as fun because it doesn't have a removable top. It doesn't have a convertible top, possible convertible top. It doesn't come in a two-door. There's a lot of reasons why a Forerunner is going to be more of a family-oriented SUV versus a fun toy.
And I would imagine it's more expensive.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that, Michael.
So we're going to call it there for the news this week, Dad. We're getting set to watch the United States team perform tonight. I think it's at 6 or 8 o'clock. I think
8 o'clock's the game.
8 o'clock Eastern. That's the game. That's the match.
That's the match.
And we'll get into some of the other stories next week. We're running a little long right now, but we can talk about TikTok next week.
TikTok.
But yeah, if you're not following us on TikTok, please do so. We just had a post it did really well today. There's some conversation happening in the comments that might be worth checking out. So that's a little bit of a teaser. We gave the social media links. We gave the website address, but our phone number 941-22-NOBLE. It's 941-22-66253. And you can give us a call anytime. We're happy to help. You can find all of our inventory online. If we don't have what you're looking for, there's even a form to fill out, and you can tell us what you're looking for, and we'll get back to you just as soon as possible. So we also are on YouTube and Spotify. If you can like and follow us on the social media platforms, it'll help us grow. And who knows, maybe in future episodes of the Noble Auto Report, we'll get some guests and we can find people to be guests and come on and talk. And yeah, we'll just keep doing this. Next week, it will be a new episode. And Dad, until then, I hope you have a great week.
You too, son. Love you.
Love you too. You know what? I keep saying have a great week, but the show comes out on Friday, which I guess, that it makes sense, but people should know this is being recorded on a Monday.
Probably a good idea.
So have a good weekend.
All right, you too.